Welcome back to the classroom. Today we're going to talk about the three types of women that a man can marry and how each one of these women would impact his life and why he chooses a woman like that. Class is in session. This is something that I say all the time. I don't think that men speak enough about marriages. I don't think they talk enough about the struggles that they have in marriage. I personally don't believe that they're open and honest and introspective enough to talk about the challenges that they personally bring to a marriage. A lot of times we're looking to pinpoint problems or point fingers at the woman that we've chosen to marry without realizing that whoever you choose is a direct reflection of who you are. So a lot of the problems that you have or the issues that you find in your spouse, they're ultimately projections because nobody gets married knowing or thinking or believing that they're going to have the struggles and the problems that they ultimately end up with on a day-to-day basis. And this is what is I've been married for 5 years going on 6. It's taken me this long to finally get to the point where, George, bro, you married this woman. You chose her. You took these vows. Let's look at why you would choose a woman like this. We're not demonizing or vilifying her. I love my wife. I want our marriage to work. But I would be lying if I said that things were in a healthy space now. And I personally believe that as a man, as the man in the head of this household, because of my biblical foundation, that if I can allow God to correct me, then ultimately he could get my wife in, then ultimately he could show my wife a true and a new path through the softness and the humility that I have in me. And she still has the ability to make her own decision. It's not about forcing somebody to love you. So here are the three things. The first one, the physical type. You hear people talk about, oh, is he your type? Is she your type? The physical type is the spouse that a man pursues based on his sexual past more often than not. This is the woman that he thinks is going to give him the security in his nervous system that will allow him to stay faithful. So he's totally relying on her to always be the novelty that his sexual proclivity historically needs to stay present, to stay active and faithful and committed and monogamous for the remainder of their lives in the future. That's entirely too much weight for anybody to carry. And he has put that woman in a bad position, and he's ultimately put his marriage in a position to fail, and he doesn't even realize it. The enemy is going to have a field day with this type of marriage. We know this is true because we can look at Samson. The Bible says that Samson was given clear instructions on who to marry, who not to marry, why to marry him, and why not marry him. But the Bible says that he went to his daddy and was like, hey, Pops, I want to marry that chick over there. And daddy was like, bro, you can't find no woman over here in our neighborhood. You want to go all the way over there and marry one of the women that you know you don't need. But he was physically attracted to her. This is how physical attraction, this is how men with high body counts, with a history of hypersexuality, this is how we perceive marrying a woman that's our type in our minds. The thought process is, man, I've had a lot of sex. I want to get married. I want to stay faithful. I want to be a one woman man. So I got to marry somebody my chick got to be bad. What we're saying in our heads is, because of all the novelty that I've had in my life, I'm turned on and my nervous system is activated by this woman. My unhealthy attachment to sex is activated in a real way with this woman. And I think that activation, or chemistry as we call it, is the thing that's going to glue me to her and keep me faithful. That's a lie. I know it firsthand. My wife is as pretty as I've never seen a prettier woman in person than my wife. But it was my miscalculation, my arrogance, that caused us to get to this space. And what ultimately happens when a man chooses a woman who is his type is she can feel that you have objectified her. And that works before you get married. That may work for a girlfriend, or it may even work with somebody who has that same sexual dependency or that unhealthy sexual attachment, where they use sex is something when I'm happy, something when I'm wanting to have fun, something when I'm sad, something when I'm mad, when I'm broke, when I'm down in spirit, when I'm frustrated, when I'm bored. And sex becomes this kind of cure-all for every mood that I'm in. If you find a woman that's like that and she's your type, it'll look like it's going to work. But ultimately, that desire consumes each other and you're left empty. And your soul never has the provision and the nurture and the sustenance that it needs to actually be redirected to God. So these types of marriages can work, but people have to be able to recognize who they are and what traumas they're bringing to the marriage. See, you don't get that in marriage counseling. The second type is the status type. The status type is the woman that we believe is going to make us look good in social rooms. This is the woman that our homeboys think is pretty enough for us to be with her, and the woman that we are never worried about being embarrassed by. She speaks well, she's educated, she's gonna help. This is the 50-50 type woman where her lifestyle exceeds my income a little bit more often than not. And we have to quote unquote partner together. And I hate the word partner, because when you're marrying a status type, that's essentially what you're getting, a partner. Somebody to partner with you to build what we call an empire. And that sounds fun. It sounds like the right thing to do, but it doesn't give the security to the next generation that we ultimately want. The Bible tells us to train up our children in the way they should go. So in the status type marriage, you ultimately end up with your children being dished off to daycare. And ain't nothing wrong with daycare. Listen, I'm not here to demonize or vilify anybody. I'm simply giving the facts so that we understand what's taking place in our lives. And then we get to decide to fix it or not. And that's one of the things that I've always struggled to understand about people. Why can't we know what the right or ideal thing to do is? Why can't we choose to deviate in the way that we prefer deviation and live with the consequences instead of trying to make our way right? Now, I'm talking about biblical order here. I'm not talking about societal order. I'm not talking about logic, because I understand that in the world that we live in today with capitalism in 2026, oftentimes it requires two people to work. But what we're typically pursuing in those two income households today is lifestyle. So I got some notes here. The status wife can work a room, she can elevate your brand, she can enhance your business options and optics, and she fits seamlessly into your world. The marriage looks really successful, but there's often a neutrality in these relationships that doesn't really promote the sexual polarization from the masculine and feminine energies that is required to have a healthy sex life. And the problem with not having a healthy sex life today is the men who are marriage material in the world that we live in today are high sex drive men. And more often than not, and this is where the danger begins to stack, more often than not, these men have found a woman who is their physical type one, and now she's the status type. So she's two different things for him now. The problem that millennial men are going to run into with status type women is oftentimes the ones that we want to marry, we marry the women who have that low promiscuity. We don't want to marry the hoes. So the women that we marry for our status coming from our sexual tendency and proclivity, they're typically not the women that's going to give us the validation and the fulfillment in the bedroom that our nervous system needs. And it's not even about us pursuing a healthy level of sexuality or intimacy with these women. And the women who are our types, they can feel it. And the women who are our status types, not only can they feel it, but they have the ability to push back because they're like, hey, hold on. I got enough independence to where you're not about to push your wills and desires on me. Now, if I'm with you, I'm with you. But when I ain't with you, ain't no obligation. Like my body ain't your body. I don't care what the Bible say. My body is my body. And if I'm with it, you with it. And these are typically the women that give their husbands a little bit of a leash and a leeway. They're not upset about the fact that you want to spend your time jacking off or some time at the strip club or you got man time or man trips. They ain't tripping about that because they keep you at a distance, and a lot of times because at the core of the status that you guys are pursuing together, there is a avoidant there's an avoidant attachment for her because in her core, behind the hiding of the lifestyle pursuit, what there truly is a distrust that a man would take care of me if I were financially vulnerable as an adult. And society has raised me to believe that I better have my own because historically men leave. And when they leave you with the bag. And the one thing that women need is safety and they need security. Because most women in their childhoods to some capacity have experienced levels of instability. And lastly, the third type, this is your vision and your purpose type. I want you to notice in the Bible how in the book of Isaiah, it says that Jesus was not an attractive guy per se. He wasn't anything to look twice at. But on the contrary, the enemy was as beautiful as you could be. The Bible said the bro looked so good that the looks corrupted him. Could you imagine looking so good that your looks? And this is where the story of Narcissus comes from, where we get the word narcissism. Said that bro was so impacted and so enthralled by his own beauty that he just kept staring in the water at his reflection. So your vision and your purpose type, this is almost where we start to get to what we would call an arranged marriage. This is the point where I believe people start to contend that God chooses your spouse. I don't think God chooses your spouse, but I'm not totally opposed to that when we're looking at it this way. Because your vision and your purpose type, this is a woman that may not be the most beautiful woman. She may not be everything that tantalizes your sexual fantasy. She may not be the woman that can really work a room, that everybody wants to see. She may not be as elegant and as eloquent as the ideal type in your mind would be. But she is righteously and holistically sufficient for the place and the vision that God has and the work that God has given you on this earth as a man. This is the woman that the Proverbs 31 mother is attempting to prepare her son for. Most men don't have the maturity, don't have the humility, don't have the wisdom, nor the understanding to pursue this type of woman and love her without making her feel inadequate. Ask me how I know. Hypersexual men, we've had so many relationships that felt easy. And by easy, I mean they fit, they worked for us. We got so accustomed to the ease of connecting with women who saw our vision heading toward our purpose that we somehow discounted it as if it wasn't valuable. We feel bored because in our minds, we don't see that quote. And it's not even boredom. It's that we're unhealthy and an unhealthy system isn't activated by a woman who has come to do the work that God says a woman should do in our lives. Help. We're not turned on by help. But then we want to make content and we want to say, oh, we can go marry a woman that work at Burger King. Oh, well, if you can, why don't you? Because you know the women that work at Burger King don't look like you want them to look. And that's the generational narrative and rhetoric that we get misconstrued all the time. Like, stop it. Jesus wasn't an attractive man, but he's everything that we need for healthy relationship. He's everything that we need for pursuing the kingdom of God in a righteous way, in a non-selfish manner, and to pursue love in a way that's actually going to fulfill us. And the reason Jesus is not attracted to us is the same reason that some of the women that we would marry who are healthy for us are not attracted to us. We've been too activated by the world. We're too attached to the worldly systems. We're too attached to our pornography struggles. We're too attached to the novelty that we had in sexuality years ago. And truthfully, we want to go back and we want to be those men again. We want to live in our heyday. So to recap, the first type of woman that a man can choose is his physical type. The second type of woman that a man can choose is his social type, his status type. And finally, the best, and this is where I pray that young men can get healthy, because this is what I want to help young men to do and to see. Because I believe that marriage is a beautiful thing. The problem is we aren't prepared to be good husbands. And I'll be honest with y'all, I have not been a great husband to my wife, but the only thing that keeps me fighting is the fact that I wanted to be a husband. And when you want something, you're not afraid to go and make the corrections. You're not afraid to take accountability and responsibility. I'm never giving up on my wife. She's going to have to quit on me. There have been times where I've said it because I have this anxious attachment and I'm used to women falling at my feet and doing what they want to do, how I want them, doing what I want them to do, how I want them to do it. But when I withdraw from the world and I get myself settled down and I think about what it is that I truly desire for my life, I know that I want to be married. I know that I want to be a father. And I know that I want to live and build something with a woman for the kingdom of God so that people can see what a healthy relationship looks like. And it's not that we owe anybody anything. This is just something I'm passionate about doing. And I personally believe if men would come down off of the generational foolishness and we would stop being afraid to quote unquote simp for our women, because why wouldn't I, in every capacity that God has given me to, why wouldn't I want to make my woman feel like she's the most special woman? And then men talk about making women earn. And there's a place for that as well. You don't want a taker. You want somebody who wants to reciprocate. But I ask men this question all the time. If you see a woman coming and you decide to hold the door for that woman, if she doesn't thank you, will you be frustrated that you held the door for her? If your answer is yes, then you didn't hold the door for the right reason. But if your answer is, I don't care, she do what she want to do. I held the door because I wanted to hold the door for a lady. I want to be a gentleman. Then you're close to being where you need to be if you truly want to be a man and you want to be a husband. Class dismissed.